What is happening, people? It is Brian Alsruhe, NEVERsate.com, and today we're gonna talk about stability, which I am obviously lacking a little bit. But luckily for all of you, we're not gonna be talking about my mental state. We're gonna be talking about the stability in the overhead press or the lack thereof. Because in my opinion, there's not many more things more impressive than when someone takes something very heavy from the ground and they press above their head. I don't care what it is. It could be an axle, could be a stone, could be a barbell, could be a log, could be absolutely anything. But when someone takes something of significant weight, they pick it up off the ground, somehow work that thing up their body, and it ends up locked out above their head, it's impressive. It just is. And for this reason, a lot of people want a good overhead press. However, a good overhead press is very, very elusive in the weightlifting community. Today, I shall surmise why. In order to build up a strong overhead press, you'll see guys working the bench press, and that's great, kinda. They do the strict press, which is excellent. They're hopefully doing overhead variations with leg drive. That's awesome. They're probably spending a lot of time and focus on their triceps. It's great. They might even be working some of these small muscle imbalances, like their rear delt, or doing some ladder raises or things like that. Again, fantastic. But hardly anyone outside of really good pressers ever works their stability. Now, the reason why your stability is so important is because if you think of your body as a stick, typically the longer the stick gets, the less stable it becomes. And if you, my friend, are a stick, then you're never gonna be less stable than here. And that is why stability is gonna become very, very important very quickly the second that those weights start getting heavy. So you have goals of ever hitting a body weight overhead press, or maybe not zeroing a press event in a strongman competition. These things are gonna help you out a lot. So my plan here is to give you guys 3 exercises, show you guys some that I commonly do to work the stability of my muscles. Now, stability isn't something that you have to work all the time, but it is something that I'd probably be hitting a couple times a month, or maybe at least one little exercise per overhead press day, maybe, if it is one of your weaknesses. If triceps are your weakness, I'd rather see you spend your time there. And you gotta work your delts, no matter what. So 3 exercises, let's go. So the very first exercise that I want to talk to you guys about is the strict overhead press with kettlebells or weights or dumbbells or whatever you can hang suspended from the sides of the barbell. Now, as I'm sure many of you have noticed, this is definitely a poor man's version. If you guys do have access to an earthquake bar or one of the original bamboo bars, I would highly encourage that you use that, because that is what this is for. This is the ghetto NEVERsate version. So the basic idea here, as I'm sure you can tell, is you take a couple resistance bands, you loop them through a kettlebell, a dumbbell, a plate, whatever you want to use to suspend from the bar, and then you hang them. Yeah, not a lot of brain power there. But then things get complicated because you need to press it. Now keep in mind that this is going to be extremely hard. You're going to be able to use weights that are not even close to where you think you're going to end up going, all right? Your very first press is gonna be easy, but as you start working through, those plates and kettlebells or whatever you're using, you're gonna start bouncing around and you're gonna start having to deal with a lot of other forces that you really weren't planning on dealing with. Sometimes you're gonna go press that thing, it's gonna feel 30 pounds heavier than it did on the last press, and other times it's gonna feel like it's a feather in your hands. And then as you start to get tired and your arms start shaking, you are gonna start wobbling all over and your body is going to go in convulsions that you're not gonna be able to control. Really hard not to make some funny jokes here. But since this variation is one that is absolutely gonna humble you and you're not gonna be able to do any weight on, I really like to use it at times when my body's kind of beat up. I know I don't have a good press in me, but I still wanna get some decent work in. Plus, anytime you're doing any type of instability training, all that shaking around is going to give you a muscle pump and make you soar in different ways than you're used to. So it's an absolute great way to get a workout in. I only do the strict press with it. If you try using any leg drive, just don't do that, unless you like brushing your teeth with kettlebells. So I would definitely put this exercise kind of in the medium category as far as intensity goes. Exercise number 2 is going to be the waiter's walk and all the variations of it. Now, if you guys don't know what a waiter's walk is, all that you do is pretty much think like you have a tray of drinks in your hands, put it above your head, and you walk like a waiter. No one ever taught me not to use the word I'm defining in the definition. Thank you, Miss Kate. Now, a cool part about this exercise is you can use virtually any implement that you want. If you want to use that same exact banded kind of setup strict press that we talked about in the last exercise, this exercise becomes very, very challenging using that same implement. If you want to use a yoke and try to get super heavy, there's times when I will literally go like 100, 150 pounds over my 1 rep max on the yoke for waiter's walks. That will make your overhead press go up. I've used kettlebells, I've used barbells, I've used literally Atlas stones, I've used all types of things to try to create different levels of instability, and I can safely say it works. This is actually one exercise that I will credit my circus dumbbell actually getting better with, because I did so much circus dumbbell waiter's walk, it wasn't even funny, because the idea here is the circus dumbbell isn't so much about your pressing strength, it is about keeping the dumbbell in that groove, and you will not be able to find that groove any better than when you stick something heavy in your arms and you walk, finding that balance point at multiple different ways. So then when you're pressing that circus dumbbell, if you're out a little bit, trust me, if you did waiter's walks, you've been in this position and you know how to correct. So yeah, it made the circus dumbbell a little less horrid than it really is. Don't get me wrong though, that thing still is terrible. Now I do like to work this one in a number of different ways. Sometimes I go very heavy for short distances, maybe 30 to 50 feet, like I said before. Typically on that, I will use a barbell, or I usually use a yoke when I'm going that heavy. And then sometimes I like to use moderate weights for medium distance, something like 100, 200 feet with a couple turns, or maybe like an obstacle course. For those types of weights and distances, I like to use things like the log, something that's a little tougher to get into position, like an Atlas stone, or something that you really need to work to get into that place. If it's light, you can kind of throw it there and go. If it's heavy, that's why I like using the yoke, because it's already kind of set up there. So for a moderate weight, medium distance type of thing, I like to use the implements like a circus dumbbell that would be tough to use otherwise. And then if I want to do it for light weights, I will throw something ridiculous like 50, 60 pounds in my hands, lock 2 kettlebells above my head, and go for like a 400-meter walk. Stopping as I need to stop, doing what I need to do, but there is a different level of shoulder fatigue when you're doing something like that. So I would highly encourage you guys to give that a try. For nothing else, just the mindset aspect. That's number 2. And now on to exercise number 3, what's going to be the light addition of this little trio, because everything's going to be body weight, or at least very close to body weight. And this one's pretty simple, as long as you have access to rings or blast straps, or even I used to set this up at a commercial gym with a cable machine, dropping the cables down as far as possible with the little D handles. Yeah, pretty much just need something that's going to simulate a ring. And the reason why is because you're going to step up your game from push-ups and dips to ring push-ups and dips. The distinction is small, the effect is not. So basically you're gonna have to figure out some way to suspend these things, either from a squat rack or really anything. So like, you're gonna have to figure this one out on your own. But once you have those things suspended, go through a full range of motion in a normal push-up or a normal dip. Always be careful and take it slow at first, because you are gonna be shocked at how unstable you actually are in these movements. But that crazy shaking action, it's gonna help. Now as far as reps and sets, you can do whatever you want. You can add weight around your waist for the weighted dips if you want. You can really do 8,000 different variations with this, just like you can with a regular push-up or dip. A weight vest works very well here if you have access. All right, guys, so there you go. Those are 3 exercises that I pretty regularly use in my own programming to kind of up the stability of my overhead press, and it's done a ton. Not only coming back from my shoulder injury, but also prior to that. I literally get asked all the time how I got my press so high. And my top 2 answers are always triceps and stability, because everyone can get a weight from here to about here. After that, those 2 things become fairly important. So there you go, guys. I really hope that helps some of you out. It has definitely helped my overhead press over the years. So maybe try throwing some of these things in. If they work for you, awesome, keep them. If they don't, discard them. It's not gonna hurt my feelings either way. I just wanna see as many people succeed as I possibly can, and hopefully this will help. Guys, I will catch up with you later in the week. I really thank all of you, especially all of you new people who've subscribed recently. That means so much to me. It's so cool. I am overwhelmed and thankful. So I will catch up with you guys later in the week, but until I do, go out to something amazing in your lives. Keep working hard, people. Be nice to each other, and I'll see you then.